matched the poles, so Joel did all that installation there. Then on page 4 of 6, we have the American Road magazine. There's an ad in one of their publications for $2,286 for the ride Carson City. A little further down, Adventure Sports for $1,350 was a half-page ad in the Adventure Sports Journal. A little further down is EQLD Creations for $1,150. That was for Capital Collage, a photo booth background that was painted by the artist, I do believe. A little further down is the Nevada State Museum for $1,250. That was a sponsorship for the Day of the Dead event that the museum put on. And then you'll see down at the bottom, there's a couple Konica Minoltas again for a printer rental. This is for July through October lease for both the printer and the Duplo cutter. And it carries over onto the very next page, the top two items on the next page as well. And then towards the bottom of page 5 of 6, there's $1,595 for Capital Collage. That's a controlled burn performance for that event that Mark put on. And that's pretty much it for the P cards, unless you guys have any other questions.
On the printer, how come they don't condense their billing?
I don't know. I'm working, I got to figure that out because they've got some crazy, I'm going to look at that this month and see what's going on with that. Because we're paying some with P cards and some with AP checks, so I got to look into why they're billing it. They bill like the insurance, they bill the lease, and then they bill any additional clicks all on separate invoices. So I just have to look into that and see what they're doing there.
Chris, I see quite a few charges for Capital Collage. Did we do any internal audit on that event and see how many tickets we sold and what was our cost, like just to see for future?
I am actually going to be working on that because Mark's board, the Cultural Commission, has asked for the same thing. So we will have it for the next month's meeting.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience about the report?
Karen, you want me to go? I move to approve the ratification of the CTA account activity statement of accounts payable checks and P-card charges for October 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Number 9, for possible action to select NV Consulting LLC as the most appropriate bidder as a result of request for proposal number 1718-001 for Carson Culture and Tourism Authority Management Services, and to direct staff to draft an agreement with terms consistent with RFP number 1718-001 and the proposal submitted by NV Consulting. So, Chris, why don't you walk us through this? Just for everyone's point, we make sure I have my dates right here. November 27th, put up an RFP for the management consulting services or professional services for the Carson Culture and Tourism Authority, and open that up to a number of different places. I mean, I don't know all the different, but we advertise it pretty aggressively. You might be able to speak to that. And then it came down on December the 8th at 2 p.m. That's when everyone had a chance to submit their proposals, and we're going to go through the results, obviously, of your. It was a different committee that we set up that reviewed the RFPs to go through, and this is the result of their work, and we're going to go through that presentation right now, or that recommendation right now, the results of that.
So kind of just a rundown of what you just said, that what I have is Laura Rader from the Carson City Purchasing and Contracts Manager's Office. She helped me with the creation of the RFP, with you working on the scope of work, so we had everything laid out the way it should be. We released it the 27th. We put it out on the Carson City Visitor site. We put it on all of our social media sites. We emailed it to the Commission on Tourism, the Reno Tahoe Territory. We also emailed it we received a list from the RSCVA. They had done an RFQ a few years back for integrated marketing agencies, so we also sent it out to 112 recipients within Nevada for that, and then we sent it to all of our Carson City lodging properties. Along with that, when we sent it, we also requested that they pass information on to anybody that they thought might make a good potential candidate. It was published in the Nevada Appeal on November 28th, because there's no newspaper on Monday. And then proposers had until noon on the 5th of December to submit any questions. Those answers for those questions were put in an addendum, which was posted on the website and emailed off to anyone that had asked questions. The submittal deadline was the 8th at 2 p.m. We only received 2 proposals. One was from East River PR and one was from NV Consulting. We had a review panel of 4 people. We reviewed and scored both proposals. And then on Tuesday, the 12th, we interviewed both proposers. They had 20 minutes to do a presentation and then 20 minutes to do question and answers with the reviewers. The panel discussed and decided with a 3-to-1 vote to recommend the award for RFP 1718-001 to NV Consulting.
Chris, who made up the selection panel?
That is confidential as far as I've been instructed, so Iris isn't here to double check with the DA, but if I can find out for you and let you know.
What are the terms about the same that we got in the previous? Is that public information?
Yeah, the proposal, you have the proposal from NB Consulting in your packet on that agenda item. Basically, the proposal was for the services. It doesn't actually break down in either one of the proposals, what prices are. We basically had stated in the RFP that we have a budget of $130,000. That will be worked out with whichever proposer you guys select, which we're recommending NV Consulting. They were scored.
Were you saying that that's negotiable when we go through and negotiate with the proposal?
Yes.
Okay.
Because basically what the review panel did was we reviewed them on the what was put in the RFP, and the qualifications were things like the length of time in business, past performances, and completing projects on time and within budget. They were scored on leadership and management personnel, size of the organization, project management, support staff, staffing methods, technical stuff. They were just scored on demonstrating knowledge and skills and abilities to perform the specifications from the RFP. Some of the comments from the review was it was a difficult RFP to find companies because it was there's a lot of administrative as well as a lot of marketing. So, the marketing firm might score higher in one or the other, but with the administrative, it was more difficult for them to have companies, is what they were, some of the comments. So.
And this is, in the packet, was presented by NV Consulting?
Yes.
And and then the letters of recommendation are in here as well?
All the letters of recommendation and everything are in there.
Okay. And just to be clear, we are not deciding on the contract or the terms of the contract at this meeting. That'll be brought back at a
Right, we're
separate
just
board meeting.
recommending.
We are just choosing to accept the recommendation of the committee of NV Consulting. That's all we're deciding here today.
So we are just recognizing the decision of the panel and moving forward, but a separate vote will happen in this board to give the contract.
Right, so
Okay.
in this agenda item, the review panel is recommending NV Consulting. You have the choice to decide that or not. And then if you choose to go with NV Consulting, you guys will be directing staff to make that contract. And we'll come back with the contract in January meeting.
Yeah, so the way I understand the staff go out and negotiate, if we agree with NV Consulting, they'll go out and negotiate with the NV Consulting, and at a separate board meeting, then we will approve the terms of that negotiation. And so we'll, such as length of contract, amount we'll pay, that type of scope of work has already been specified in the RFP.
Right.
So those are the 2 major things I believe we'll be deciding at that next board meeting.
So should we decide that NV Consulting gets this, then they don't come on board until January?
Yeah, they wouldn't come on board right until we approve the contract. And I believe, I'm assuming that would happen at the next board meeting, January, what is that, 10th or whatever that is.
Is
I'm
that
not
the
sure what the
8th
date.
or the second month? The
I'm not
first
sure what
is
the
a
date is.
Monday, yeah.
It was January 8th. That's correct.
Chris, are we still looking at a 3-year, or is that also negotiable?
I think that's for you guys to decide and direct staff on that.
When we going to do that if...
The way I see we do it is, the staff would go out and negotiate whether it's 2-3-year deal, and then they'll come back to us. And then, but then the terms of the contract, as the staff negotiates with, if we decide on NB Consulting, then Chris, the staff will come back and say, look, we've negotiated a 3-year deal, this is how much we'll pay, and then we'll decide, no, we want to do a 2-year deal, or whatever the case may be, at that particular, or accept it as is.
So in other words, between now and January 8th, you will, maybe a week before, you will give us a draft, and we will review it, because if we are voting on the 8th, we might need some time to review that. That's my concern, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, so. And then we'll make it, obviously, we'll make it public and put it out there for everyone to look at, but we'll have a chance to look at it and go through it, so that way we've had a chance to individually review it before the meeting, so if we have any concerns.
I would recommend that we have a draft to us by January 2nd, so that we at least have that 4-day period to review minimum. And I know because of the holidays, it's a tough call, but this is an important issue.
And then, Chris, would we direct any comments to you? Okay, and then
Yes.
that way you would have that, because I won't be here for the next meeting, so I just want to make sure that, your comments we
Yeah,
get
that
to you
would be-
ahead of time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Questions from the board about proposal from NV Consulting, or comments?
Can NB Consulting, since they're in the audience, come up and speak?
Sure.
Okay, that would be great. Oh,
I was just trying to be sensitive to your timeline, but
that's all right.
no, absolutely, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Thank you. For the record, Joel Dunn, NV Consulting.
Sure.
Managing member.
Question I have, in terms of NV Consulting moving forward, what is the composition of what your consulting group will be to help divide the workload? Because obviously the scope of work is not small.
NV Consulting is looking at putting together a team that will assist in all facets of the proposal. When you certainly look at the administrative, I think that as a managing member, as a project manager, I certainly will bring the skill set for that position. In regard to some of the assistance in marketing, that certainly will be something that will be added to the NV Consulting. I first started the consulting business actually back in 2013 under a different name. I let that expire, and I renewed the NV Consulting moving forward in this prospect. Yeah, certainly will meet the scope. There's nothing within the scope of work or the details that was listed in the RFP that we will not be able to meet and surpass your expectations.
Well, impressive resume and impressive recommendations.
No, I echo that. I had a chance to read through it and had a chance to look at the recommendations, and pretty strong recommendations. And, obviously you, Joel, have a tremendous reputation and work history in the community, not only in Parks and Rec, but as the former executive director of the Visitors Bureau. So, yeah. Thanks.
Well, your past performance have been really impressive. So, and I think that's the biggest reason you have been awarded this another contract term before you were
Not
an
yet.
employee.
That is
Not
not-
yet.
not
You
yet.
will be. As long as we can come to a decision on all the terms. But we want you to, if things go well and you're on board, we want things to be the same way how it's been. And board is here for cooperation always.
No, absolutely. You know, in putting together the proposal, one of the things that I think was reassuring in continuing the direction that this board and the team has gone with the CTA over the course of the last 5 years is exactly that. It's the strength in the board and the strength in the team. Coming in and having an opportunity now to assist Chris Kipp as the interim director through that transition and identifying what the next executive director is going to look like for this community. It's a great opportunity for me to come back and be able to do that while meeting the demands and the needs to slow down. This is not only a great opportunity, I think, for Carson City to see the continuation, but I thank you for hopefully providing me that same opportunity. Thanks.
And Joel, with the team approach that is being proposed, this way, I mean, in terms of your health issues, it allows that the scope of work that needs to be accomplished in a less taxing fashion.
Absolutely. You know, I think through this, and it's been, 40 days. I have not had any contact with you as a board, and I don't think I went more than 4 to 5 days without having a conversation before the last 40 with someone on the board or, obviously someone with the staff. And I think through this time, you've seen that strength that I've always known that Chris Kipp had. And as your interim director, she is certainly well suited to supervise the staff of the CTA and keep that team focused. And I look forward to working with her and seeing that strength build. Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, when I put together a scope of work along with Chris, it was 2 goals. One was obviously keeping the business of our board, of the tourism on focus. I mean, the top focus. But also, we talked in previous board meetings about succession planning, and the recommendation of the managing company to come back to the board and say, okay, after the term of the contract is up, whatever that is, this is what we recommend, how we proceed going forward. So those were the 2 goals of the scope of work. But as we're working on this recommendation, we still have to do the business of the Visitors Bureau. So that was the goal of the scope of work when we wrote that.
One of the side notes is looking at all of the things that 5 years ago when I came in looking at the transition and what we needed to do with branding and marketing and changing the Bureau. In the back of my mind, I knew that we were going to be putting together strategic plans. And the last 2 strategic plans that were put together and also a rebranding were contracted out by the Bureau. And I don't know if anyone on the board was part of that process, but I think this community would tell you that both of those were probably a complete failure. And I assure you that won't happen through this contract. This contract will provide Carson City a solid strategic plan for arts and culture, and a very solid plan for marketing Carson City, in addition to the plan for transition.
Well, and my comment to that, too, is that I think the reason for the failures before is that they were exclusively about marketing, and this job is more than that. And it's all-encompassing in terms of engagement within the community, understanding the community, and bringing in events that make sense to put heads in beds. So I think, it takes that finger on the pulse.
Actually, last time we did a contract, it was a temporary one. That was during point of transition with Linda Ritter. And that worked out, I had a chance to work with her, and that worked out really well as we went forward. Now, it was different circumstances, different goals, but it did get us from where we were to where we are now as far as during that transition. So that was actually a successful contract that we put in place, and worked out really well for us.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I certainly wasn't looking at the last contract with your interim director, with your past city manager, Linda Ritter. She was instrumental in the transition for me to come in as your new director. So it was your 2 contracts, one being for a rebranding of our community, and the other, both were out-of-state consulting firms, and the other being a strategic plan. But no, absolutely not the one with Linda.
Joel, I have one question. Once we go through this negotiation term, and if we award the contract, do you have any plan to change the strategic plan we have in place? What are your thoughts about that?
So, going into first the strategic plan for the marketing component, we've already gone to great lengths as a CTA and as a community, having the stakeholders coming in and providing probably 2/3 of that first strategic plan. The last portion is really probably the one that best fits the consulting firm, and that's sitting down individually with you as board members, reaching out to some of those stakeholders, and then compiling a very detailed order of how those are going to be accomplished. There's a responsibility not just to the community and the stakeholders of getting all of it included in the strategic plan, but putting together the steps that will provide the biggest return on the investment and the soonest. Plus performance measures. One of the aspects of each one of those strategic plans is going to have tasks and performance measures that the employees are going to be held to, and that you as a board will be able to track their success. So that would be the first one. As far as the second one, the strategic plan to put together for arts and culture, that's going to be the same detailed process. You're going to start with a community meeting. You're going to reach out to all those organizations. You're going to work directly with the Cultural Commission and put together the same suit that we're going to do for the strategic plan. The first one will be brought back to you over the next couple of months. And it will come back first in draft form after we have a chance. I would recommend, once we get to the point of having an opportunity as NV Consulting working with each one of you as board members, of having a retreat. I think you need to sit down and have a chance to throw it all on the board and see what stays. So those will be the first steps.
You did answer part of my second question. That was about arts and culture, and it's been over a year since we brought Mark into the position. So I want your independent also review, maybe once you're on board and everything goes well here, what your expectations were a year ago, and where are we, and what are the opportunities there, because it's a work in progress. It's something you start and results come way down the road, like takes time. But still, if there's any changes or anything we do moving forward, since you changed the seat and went there, you might have some different thoughts. We want to know that.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll be looking back at 5 years ago when I had a chance to interview first for the executive director's job. And we talked about wanting an opportunity to find a sustainable funding source for public art, but tying that back to the cultural tourism aspect, where we're tasked as a CTA to make sure that there's a return on investment with room tax. You had 24 of the properties support the effort of increasing room tax, and all 24 properties expect to see a return in room tax for that investment. So absolutely, it will be part of that strategic process.
All right, any other board comments, questions? Any questions, any public comment, questions from the audience about this? All right, seeing none.
I move to select NV Consulting LLC as the most appropriate bidder as a result of a request for proposal number 1718-001 for Carson Culture and Tourism Authority Management Services, and to direct staff to draft an agreement with terms consistent with RFP number 1718-001 and the proposal submitted by NV Consulting LLC.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Any against? Nope. Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, Joel. Non-action items. Chris, you're up.
All right, so for the first one is the transient occupancy report for the month of October. So the room revenue total for the month of October was $2,241,000, which is up from $1,508,000 from last year. Calendar year, we're at $18,986,000, up from 2016, which was at $14 million. The fiscal year is at $9,663,000. 2016 was $7,363,000. The RevPAR is up for the top 5. It was at $66 in 2016. It's up to $102 for 2017. For the top 13, it went from $43 in 2016 to $67 in 2017. The trailing 12, you're at $21,336,000 for 2017, which is up 26% from last year, which was $16,921,000. And the trailing 12 is up 34% from the 15 million in, I'm sorry, that's from 2015 to 2017. So you're up 34% for the legislative year, 15 million for 2015 and 21 million for 2017. The occupancy on the other side is the top 5 occupied rooms were, for 2017, were 12,000, up from 10,000 in 2016. The top 13 are at 24,000, which is up from 20,000. And the RVs are up at 821, which is up from 651 for the year before. And then for the Cultural Commission update, Mark is not available. He's at a meeting, a quarterly Cultural Commission meeting, I believe, in Sparks tonight. So we're going to skip his and go on to Kyle's marketing and events updates.
Cool. Well, thank you. I only have a little bit tonight. But over the last month, the team has been, working diligently, focused, coming up with a bunch of content, creating new ideas. I would say the creative team meetings led by Chris have been really beneficial, and the new Trello software that we adopted to kind of manage our projects, people are using. We're finding that beneficial. So, without doing a bunch of numbers, this is just kind of a recap of what we've done in the last month and where we're going to be here in the future. So as for social media, you notice we're keeping with the video cover image. So right now we've got our holiday lights video up as the cover image on our Facebook page, and promoting that just because the downtown looks so good right now through all of our social channels. And we were named, I believe, after our last board meeting, one of the top shopping destinations in the country by Expedia. And so right on the heels of that, we were finishing up our shopping video. And so we've been putting that out, and I want to go ahead and show that. It's only about a minute and a half, but we've been boosting this on our social channels. And so ultimately what we wanted to do was kind of veer away from our past couple shopping videos, which were more jewelry, knick-knack shops, more female-oriented. Still knowing that females are the ones who are doing the shoppers, we wanted to add some things for the guys too and show that we've got diversity in our shopping downtown. Things for guys, girls, outdoors, arts, all that good stuff.
Shop small, shop local, shop Carson City.
And so it just worked out really nice that the timing of getting that award was right on the heels of putting out that new video. We had Tara create a slideshow of 2017 photos, and so our final promotion of the year is going to be a boosted post of that slideshow, encouraging people to follow us in 2018 and hopefully get a nice little boost at the end of social followers. So that's what's up with social media. On our website, we've got 2 remarketing campaigns out right now with the geofencing technology. So one of them is with Sierra Nevada Media Group, as you heard from the bills. We're geofencing 3 different types of locations. So to target winter outdoor enthusiasts and where they go, people who are into the culinary experience and promoting dining and sending people back to our dining page, as well as arts and cultural as well. So that would be museums throughout California, train museums, things like that, art galleries as well. The other one's with Reach Local, and that's with a company out of the Bay Area that specializes in cyclists. And so that's the first step to the Live Carson City campaign that we were talking about over the last couple months, of trying to encourage people not just to visit here, but encourage the right people to possibly relocate their businesses here, their families, things like that. So That one, we're targeting bike-centric areas in the Bay using dining and outdoor recreation as the visual hooks, as well as cyclocross nationals, which we're going to be at coming up here in January. The calendar, all of the widget licenses needed to come up for renewal, and we went ahead and just renewed those, so we're good for a whole nother year with the look that we went over and all the adjustments and everything that we had talked about over the last year. So we're going to continue through with that calendar, and hopefully that works for the amount of events that are being put on there.
Kyle, can I ask you a question about
Yes.
Sierra Nevada Media Group and all of that?
Yes.
Now, are you also marketing to our local market, as in Reno, Sparks, Tahoe?
No. So what we're targeting is California, northern and southern. So the Sierra Nevada Media Group is strictly tourism related. So it would be our drive market, essentially, from southern Oregon all the way down to southern California. Was there any other questions about the website? All right. Wanted to do a golf update because we had always been a part of Divine Nine over the last couple years, but the two visitors bureaus made a decision recently to not reinvest in the 9-course golf consortium, and that we were going to market our courses separately. And so an update on that is that now that Duncan Courses has got Eagle Valley, and we've kind of like solidified our 3 courses now. We're going to be working with them on cooperative marketing, and I've already went ahead and reached out to an organization that specializes with golfers in Northern California and Oregon to work with our 3 courses to do ad buys throughout there. They also do trade show missions, and then we're going to work on some sort of promotion to try to get people to come down and possibly play all 3 courses in one day for a grand prize or something along those lines. But now that our golf courses, at least with Eagle Valley, is kind of solidified, we can start having that conversation. So just to update the board, we will be focusing on our 3 golf courses alone from here on out. Jackie Behan will still carry the Divine Nine name and do her operation on her own. So went to the Governor's Conference on December 4th and 5th down in Las Vegas at the Flamingo Resort. There was a great start to the conference. First of all, this is an annual event that happens every year. All of the DMOs and tourism people from across Nevada come to this thing, and then the media groups, the sales reps from around the world, so 7 different countries are represented there. There's about 500 people that are at this event from around the world to promote and market to Nevada. I've been to it personally 3 times. And so you've got, the big wigs from Vegas, you've got the lieutenant governor, the governor, everything like that. And before the conference started, somebody walked up to our group and was like, "Hey, does anybody here know how to juggle 3 balls?" And of course, being a former tennis pro, I mouthed off and said, "Yeah, I do. It was kind of part of my job." And he's like, "Cool. Well, when I call you up on stage, you'll know when it's your turn. Just come on up." And I'm like, "What did I just get myself into?" So it turns out that it was the MC for the entire event, and he was a Vegas performer, and he wanted to start off the event with a little entertainment. So he asked if anybody in the crowd knew how to juggle, looked right at me. Of course, I knew it was my turn. And we proceeded to go through a 15-minute Vegas-style juggling act, complete with comedy and all kinds of stuff. And thankfully, my tennis pro skills came in because I didn't drop anything, and it turned out to be really, really beneficial, not just for a 15 minutes of fame, but what happened afterwards, and that would be the recognition that Carson City got. So first it was the lieutenant governor who got up and proceeded to say a lot of really nice things about Carson City as a capital and as a destination, which got it in those 500 people's minds, hey, maybe we need to talk to Carson City. And then, of course, Rossi Rollenketter, the head of Vegas tourism, got up after and also said a lot of nice things about Carson City. And they happened to tie this draw between, isn't it nice to see Carson City and Las Vegas up on stage juggling the state's problems together? And I was like, way to turn that into a political win. That was a good move. But it opened up a lot of really good conversations over the next 2 days. Just being up on stage, and as kind of clownish fun as it was, it turned out to be really beneficial and get a lot of really good attention for Carson City. So James Solano and I were down there. The most beneficial thing is the sales in the media marketplace, and so combined, he and I spoke individually to about 50 different sales and media people from around the world, made the connection in about 7 minutes, passed off a lot of our content that we've created for them to go ahead and look at in digital form, which was the first time that we've done flash drive marketing that way. And so that worked out to be really well. I've actually followed up with quite a few of them, and now I'm on the #1 Chinese social media platform, WeChat, because of it. So in addition to that, it was really nice networking with the rurals too, particularly about the Highway 50 project. So we are working on our winter art visitors guide right now, our cultural guide. Supposed to be hitting the shelves here January 30th, so we're actually finishing up all the content now, getting the layout and the ads in place. But what you see is a couple of the feature articles. Of course, it'll still have dining, shopping, things like that, but in regards to the faces of, we're going to be having articles on Juliet Ducerella, two sisters, the lovely couple who fell in love thanks to Muscle Powered, a profile on Lupe Ramirez with the Latino cohort at WNC. There'll be a section on local voices giving recommendations about the art walk galleries and murals around town. We have a world-renowned bowyer, not voyeur, that is bowyer, so they create bow and arrows, and so we're doing an article on them, as well as an update on the Stewart Indian School Cultural Center, which actually is getting extended into the next round of content that we're creating for the First Nations Focus, and that's going to be stories on alumni, which is really cool that we're being able to expand that project. All right, so Highway 50 single track adventure grant, we got awarded our phase 2 request from the grants from Travel Nevada. So right now, currently, the website landing page for all of the communities is done, but it's not up and live yet. But I've gone ahead, it's been designed featuring Carson City, Austin, Eureka, Ely, and Caliente. The reason it's not up is because I'm now working on each one of those cities' profiles. So that those are up and live, but that's going to have information on their lodging, dining, attractions, trail maps, signature events, as well as links to the bike shops and links to any stories and articles that have been written about their trails. So again, kind of a landing page clearinghouse for all the content for each one of those communities' trails. And it was funny, there were other communities in Nevada that came up to me at the governor's conference that was like, hey, how do we get on this thing? And so people are excited about it. Travel Nevada is really excited about it. So this is a fun project that's continuing to move forward. Coming up in a few weeks, January 9th through 14th at Rancho San Rafael is Reno Cyclocross Nationals in Reno. USA Cycling's the #1 governing body for cycling in the United States. And so we have a booth there and are sponsoring the Sand Pit, which is the #1 obstacle that everybody gathers around to watch these cycling masochists go through on this course. So we'll have a booth there for all 5 days. We'll be acquiring emails and advocating for visitation as well as relocation, because again, this is paired with that Reach Local, Live Carson City campaign that we're trying to work on with NNDA and just get more business and industry looking at Carson City as a place. But we've got these amazingly loud cowbells that we'll be raffling off, vacations to Carson City, the Ride Carson City stickers, the key to art. We're pretty much set up, and we'll be handing out hot chocolate to everybody because cyclocross is a cold sport. And then, of course, coming up February 16th through 18th, President's Day weekend, 24 hours in Old Pueblo. This is an epic rides race, and of course, anytime we pair ourselves with epic rides in anything, whether it's Sea Otter Classic or Interbike or any of these other events, it proves hugely beneficial. So we're going down. This is actually one of the biggest 24-hour races in the world. It's where people come together and build this pop-up city and try to get as many laps in as they can in 24 hours. But there are thousands and thousands of people there. It's sold out this year in the fastest time in 7.2 hours. So again, we'll be down there representing Carson City. The interactive mappings moving forward, just uploaded the point of interest set for lodging and dining, as well as the homes on the Blue Line. Had a meeting with Greg with Parks and Rec about the Unified Pathways Master Plan, which I believe is recommended to be adopted here shortly. So we'll be using that as the overlay for the trails for that. So that's moving forward. And currently James is working on finishing the points of interest under play, shop, and arts and culture.
On the Blue Line,
Yes.
Are you working with Dirk Gearing to update that list? Because there's some discussion about expanding what we're doing on the Blue Line.
There is, and we're working right now on redesigning parts of the map as well. So thanks for reminding me of that, and I'll reach out to Dirk and set up a meeting with him just to kind of make sure that we come back together, because it has been a little while since last I talked with him about it. Cool, thanks, Karen. And we talked about that we had 3 students expressing interest from the Latino cohort to do internships with the Culture and Tourism Authority. So the first one of those internships is coming up, and one of the students will be working with Linda Belgray with the International Film Festival. So I know they're working right now with translating the poster, and we're meeting on Friday to kind of come up with a scope of work for the intern and to make sure that they get a quality 15 hours in so that they get their full credit for the internship, and that Linda gets the help that she needs to go ahead and continue to move her film festival forward. For the email marketing, the Capital Insider is still going out every other week. It seems to be getting great reviews. People are appreciating that additional information, from an industry standpoint of what's happening. And then right here at the beginning of the year, the general blast to the other 14,000 email recipients on MailChimp is going to start going out again. A lot of the reviews that I got from the salespeople is they just want to know what events are coming up. So that nice rack card that we make monthly will go ahead and be the initial, was what's going out, will be posted. Hi. All right, well, now I really can't say anything out of line. And I want to go ahead and close my presentation with an announcement that the Silver State Update, which was a project that we've been doing with Mountain Resort TV Tahoe for the last year and a half, is coming to a close. We shot our last episode on December 13th. They made the announcement that they are going to be closing down their Lake Tahoe production company and moving to Park City, Utah. They still have their television station, relay station in Reno. So their programming will still be reaching this same area, but they'll be producing everything out of Park City, which pretty much means Silver State Update it comes to a close, but it also opens up another door for promotion opportunities in the Park City and Salt Lake City area, which is, for the Highway 50 project, one of the main areas we're trying to get across. So, other than, it being a really, really successful project, in a number of ways for the community, it showed outreach for the Bureau into the business community, into the events, to show that we were working on, trying to get out and promote. But you did see the results. People did say, hey, I saw this episode, or hey, I came down because of it. So it was beneficial. And then from a professional level, it was, an opportunity for me to feel more comfortable in front of the camera, to learn the community that much more, and to be more confident with public speaking. So, it's sad to see it go, but I think we've established a relationship with this company strong enough that we can just move our focus now to Utah and benefit from it that way. So, other than that, I'm done. Is there any questions?
Well, great presentation, Kyle. Thank you.
So the next is the future agenda items. Do you guys have any agenda item requests?
No, just the one we're going to put on there in January 8th, the one we talked about today.
And then, Jesse, I talked to the city. You had asked last meeting about the if they have a breakout of all the hours for the interlocal agreement, and they don't break out any hours. It's sort of, they don't break out all the expenses on the park side for us, and they don't break out like their hours for like Iris's services or HR or anything like that. It's just a flat. So I don't know if that answers your question, but okay.
I do have one more question. When are we going to modify the events calendar, or it has been done already? Next year.
For the online version?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna continue with the design that James came up with. So it had it kind of had more of the card format. I noticed when we checked it out just recently that was not showing, and that was because a lot of the licenses had expired, but we went ahead and renewed those, so those should be back up with that new design. Essentially, with the amount of events that we have on there, we do have the filter bar, so people are able to filter down what they want. But when you show up to it first and you're just looking at all the events, we try to make it a little bit more visual, which is what those cards did, as opposed to just the listing that it had currently. Is that?
One other question about the annual events, like we have Comstock, 2 tournaments in April, we have the baseball tournament Memorial Day weekend, we have Epic Rides. Can you bring us more information on the first meeting of the year? So
Absolutely.
we can be up to date if there's any additional events that are coming to our area and like that, so that we're prepared.
Actually, we'll just go ahead and put that we'll have the 2018 events as we know it. I'll get that from the Parks Department, and then add the ones that we know for sure on there. So I'll be able to present that to you guys next time.
That helps because it also helps the restaurant businesses get geared up for when they have so they staff up for the extra influx.
Yep, absolutely.
Last thing, upcoming meetings.
Same thing. Upcoming meetings, we have the Carson City Cultural and Tourism Authority meeting will be on the 8th of January at 4 p.m. And then the Cultural Commission that usually follows has been moved to the 24th at 5:30 p.m.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Don't want to keep you guys all evening. My name is Sherry Rupert, and I'm the Executive Director of the State of Nevada's Indian Commission. I just wanted to say congratulations to NV Consulting on their contract. I look forward to the strategic plan that they'll be working on, not only supporting it, but participating in that plan. And that's really important to us as we move on this trajectory that we're on with the Stewart Indian School and all that's being planned out there. I'd also like the opportunity to come back here at some point. I'm hoping after March when we have our master plan in hand for the Stewart Indian School. It's 110 acres, 72 buildings out there, and there's never been a master plan for it. And so we're really excited that we will have that in hand in March of 2018. Separately from that is the cultural and welcome centers out at Stewart Indian School. And we've had several meetings on that. It looks like construction is going to begin in May of 2018. Yes, and so we're real excited about that as well, and we're planning a blessing ceremony. We can't really do a groundbreaking because the building's already there. So we want to do a blessing to start the construction project out on the right foot, and so we're looking at May 3rd for that. So I wanted to announce that to all of you, and look forward to your invitation to that. Also, along with that, we've been working on another project, and that is the Stewart Indian School documentary. And that was actually a partnership with the Stewart Indian School Preservation Alliance. And so we are looking at doing some premieres, both in the north and the south, for that particular documentary. It's an hour long. And I think it's a really great product. Talks about, really gives the context of how the boarding school started, and then to the Stewart Indian School, and then where we are today with the school. So again, another exciting development out at the Stewart Indian School. So those are just a few of the things that I wanted to mention. One other thing is that this master plan that we're looking at is, of course, includes the Cultural Center and the Welcome Center out at Stewart, but it also looks at how we can best utilize the facility out there and those buildings and potential future uses for those buildings, and how we can make it sustainable through public-private partnerships. And one of the buildings that's been identified kind of in the short term, kind of the low-hanging fruit that we can begin to develop is the auditorium out at the Stewart Indian School. It's a beautiful building, and it seats I'd say probably between 250 and 300 people in the auditorium, and we just actually submitted a grant to help us with some planning documents for that, and so hopefully we'll be successful in the award of that grant. But that is definitely something that we want to talk to Carson City about in the future as well. So thank you for your time, and Merry Christmas to all of you.
You as well. Thank you, Sherry. Any additional public comment? Any additional board comments, announcements, or requests for information? Okay, then for possible action to adjourn, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.